Good afternoon, students. So we'll start with our today's session. In the last lecture, we looked into memory organization of internal RAM. We will just quickly revise what we had done last time. So internal RAM memory, we have altogether 128 byte of RAM memory. The starting address is 00 and the last address is 7F. There are 4 register banks, R0 to R7. By default, bank 0 is selected. That is, R0 to R7 registers of bank 0 are in use. You can change the bank with the help of PSW register. Next, 20 to 2F are byte access memory as well as bit access memory. If it is byte access, the addresses are 20 to 2F. Whereas if it is a bit access, the addresses are 00 to 7F. And later on, 30 to 7F are general purpose read-write memory locations, and it is a byte access. So that is a structure of internal RAM, or we say memory organization of internal RAM. Then we looked into SFR addresses, special function registers. The addresses are from 80 hex onwards. So beyond 7F are the addresses of special function registers. Correct? So 80 onwards to F0 hex are the addresses of special function registers. Then we looked into ROM memory. We have 4 KB on-chip ROM memory, program memory. So the address is 4000 memory locations. So the addresses are 4 zeros and the last address is 0FFF. Each location capable of storing 8-bit information, non-volatile. So 00 to 0FFF is 4000 byte program memory. Now the initial memory locations are reserved for interrupt. So the initial memory locations 00 is the vector address of reset, 03 vector address of interrupt 0, B timer 0, 13 hex interrupt 1, 1B timer 1 and 23 hex is the address of serial communication. So these are the vector addresses of the 5 interrupts. What does that mean? These are the locations where we will be writing interrupt programs. Correct? So then whenever we write program, we should be careful. We should skip these memory locations 00 to 23 hex. In fact, 00 to 2B hex. These memory locations should be skipped. And beyond 2B hex, we should start writing a program. Then how do we take care of this? We start our program by writing originate at 00 hex, which has to be done compulsory. So we originate at 00 hex, but then immediately next, we write an unconditional jump instruction to some other address, which is referred by a label here. So that other address is referred by that label next. And at that label, we start writing a program. Okay. Now see here that what address it should write the program is taken care by the compiler. So compiler automatically skips the addresses 000 to 2B hex, and beyond 2B hex is the address allotted to the program. This is done by compiler automatically. Okay. Then we looked into no doubt we skip these memory locations and start our program beyond 2B hex, but then at these memory locations, it is expected to write the program for interrupt. But the space is not sufficient. Your first vector address is 3 hex. Immediately next, after 8 memory locations, you have a vector address of timer 0. Next 8 locations, you have vector address for interrupt 1. So 8 memory locations are not sufficient to write interrupt program. So then what do? We saw in the next. Whenever microcontroller is executing the main program and suppose an interrupt arrives at instruction move A, R1, it executes, completes the current execution, stops and jumps to the vector address 3 hex. And at 3 hex, we will be again writing an unconditional jump or an unconditional call to some other memory address. right? For example, it is referred as a label ISR 0. And at that label will be your actual interrupt program. Correct? Why? Because at 3 hex location, the address space is insufficient to write the program. Right? So at those vector addresses, you will have an unconditional jump or an unconditional call instruction. Correct? And when the interrupt subroutine is completed, iReturn is the last instruction. On executing iReturn, microcontroller comes back to the main program from where it had stopped. Okay, so that's how we manage with this insufficient space available at the vector locations. Okay, so that is what we saw in the last lecture. Now we will look into external ROM and external RAM memory interface. Right, the earlier was internal RAM 128 byte and internal ROM 4 KB. Now we will look at external ROM memory interface. So what all options are available to interface external ROM is what we will see. External ROM, we can interface at the max 64 KB ROM memory. So there are 3 possibilities of using a ROM memory, program memory. So what is the first possibility? Look into how I can have a 64 KB ROM. I will use 4 KB internal ROM and 60 KB external ROM. That's how I'll be using altogether 64 KB ROM memory. This is one of the option for me. Use 4 KB internal, 60 KB external. That becomes 64 KB. And at this condition, I'm using internal as well as external. That EA bar pin is disabled. Hope you all remember EA stands for external access and it is an active low pin. And when do you enable this pin? That is, when do you ground this pin? When the external ROM is entirely, that 64 KB is purely external. It's only at that time you enable EA bar pin. For the other conditions, EA bar pin is disabled. So our first condition was you are using internal as well as external memory, mean that EA bar pin is disabled, connected to VCC. So that's our first option. Second option is purely 64 KB is external memory. Correct? You are not using internal memory here. All 64 KB is external. Then and then only you enable this EA pin. And the last option is you purely use internal 4 KB. You're not connecting any external ROM. You're only using internal 4 KB ROM. Right? Again, EA bar pin will be disabled. So these are the 3 options of connecting a ROM memory. 4 KB plus 60 KB or external 64 KB or internal 4 KB. Correct? So then look at the right hand side of your screen. How is the memory utilized? In the first block, see at below, the address begins with 4 zeros, 000, and look into here, 0FFF. So that's 4000 KB memory. 4 zeros to 0FFF. Correct? And then external memory will be from after 0FFF, the next address is 1000. So 1000 to 4F becomes 60 KB. Okay, so how is the combination? In the first figure, EA bar is 0. Correct? EA bar is 0 mean entirely 64 KB is external. It means 4 zeros to 4F. 00002 to FFFF is external. Look here, EA bar is equal to 0. This is also external memory. And 1000 to 4F is also external. So 64 KB purely external memory. Right? And look at the right hand side, EA bar is disabled. It means either you are using only internal memory 4 KB, 4 zeros to FFF, or you will use internal plus external. But the combination is 4 KB internal, 60 KB external. So 0002 0FFF will be internal addresses. And 1000 to FFF will be external address. Correct? So that was on the right hand side of your diagram. Right? So on the left hand side, 4 zeros to 4F is purely external. On the right hand side, 0 to triple F only internal, or 0 to triple F internal plus 1000 to FFF external, 4 KB plus 60 KB. So these are the options available for connecting external ROM or for connecting ROM memory. Now, what are the options available for connecting external RAM? Okay, RAM memory 128 byte internal, right? So what are the options? Either use only internal 128 byte memory, forget about the external, right? So use either only 128 byte internal or use internal 128 byte plus purely 64 KB. Correct? Like in case of ROM, 60 plus 4 was sharing, internal plus external. In RAM, sharing is not there. You have to use internal memory. Whether you connect external RAM or not, internal 128 bytes are always to be used. Correct? So purely 128 byte internal only, or 128 byte internal plus 64 KB external is the option available. Correct? And that external access pin is not into use when we are interfacing RAM memory. So this pin is ignored for RAM connections. Is that okay? So EA bar is not in use for RAM memory. So see what, look at the right hand side of your screen, the diagram. 0 to 7F is internal RAM. 80 to FF are the special function addresses. They are also internal. Whereas 00 to FF is purely external. So either use only internal memory, or the other option is internal 128 plus external 64. So that is how external RAM or the RAM memory is used. Right? Now, and whenever you connect read-write memory, you need these control signals, read bar and write bar for read-write operation. Whereas in case of ROM, you only need the read signal. And what is connected to read signal? PSEN bar, program store enable, acts as a read signal to ROM memory. Okay, and read and write acts as a control signal to RAM memory. Okay, so that is all about memory organization. Internal RAM memory, internal ROM memory, and what are the options of connecting external RAM and external ROM. So we said 8051 microcontroller is of Harvard architecture. It means separate address space for RAM and ROM. Correct? So look into here. External memory is shown. 64 KB program memory, code memory, 00 to FF. Whereas a separate 64 KB data memory, RAM, 00 to FF. Correct? See, the addresses are the same, but the space, physical space is different. Correct? So separate address space for code ROM and separate address space for RAM. Right? Whereas if that was von Neumann or Princeton architecture, I would have only one 00 to FF. Partial will be used as program memory and partial will be used as code memory. Right? So hope you get me. Physically, there are separate spaces for ROM and RAM. That's called Harvard architecture. Okay, and program memory, the control signal, read signal is PSEN bar. Data memory, the control signals are read and write. Okay, so here we have looked at this figure previous. So whenever we want to interface ROM memory to microcontroller, look into the right hand side. That's EPROM memory. Memory, what all signals we have for a memory chip? There will be few address lines. So in our case, A0 to A15 address lines. So 16 address lines, A0 to A15, 8 data lines, D0 to D7, and the control signal read. It is denoted as output enable signal, which is read bar. So see, how do we connect? Data lines will come from port 0, whereas address and data will be separated by this latch, and the latch will be controlled by ALE, address latch enable. Okay, so address latch enable will control the latch and will separate out address and data bus. So from the latch we get A0 to A7 lower address, and from port 2 we get higher address A8 to A15. Altogether 16-bit address A0 to A15. Correct? And data lines will come from port 0. That is from the input of the latch. Right? Next, we have connected 64 KB external memory, ROM memory. Hence, EA bar pin is grounded, enabled. Okay, how do you recognize entire 64 KB is connected? I need 16 address lines to connect 64,000 bytes. So A0 to A15 are the 16 lines. Okay, so address bus, data bus, and the read signal will come from PSEN bar. So that's how you interface a ROM memory. Okay. And in the next diagram, we are interfacing a RAM memory. Now memory means few address lines, data lines, and the control signals. Fine. Now it's a RAM memory, and see, we have only interfaced 1 KB. We said at max we can connect 64 KB memory. But it is not that every time we will require the full size, right? So here I have shown an example of 1 KB RAM memory connected. Okay, mean 1000 memory locations. Now 2 raised to 10 is 1024. 2 raised to 10 gives 1024 addresses, which we round up and say 1000 byte. So 10 addresses mean A0 to A9. Okay, so you can look into this. How many address lines have I connected? 10 address lines. A0 to A9 are connected. A10 to A15 are not into use. Why? Because the memory size is 1 KB. If the memory size was 64 KB, I will require all 16 lines. Hope you are getting me, students. So 1 KB memory, 10 address lines, A0 to A9. So A0 to A7 will come from the latch demultiplexed, and A8 and A9 will come from port 2, 2.0, 2.1. Okay, data lines will come from port 0. It is a RAM interface, so EA bar pin is disabled. Okay? Look into that EA bar pin is connected to VCC. Right? And look at the control signals. So the control signals are read and the write. Okay, so OE is a read signal, output enable, and WE is write enable. Right? So that's RAM memory interface. So students, here we end up with memory organization. Okay, so mostly the question that is asked in our exam is, okay, so memory organization, the question asked is, explain the internal RAM memory organization of 8051. You need to draw the diagram and explain 4 banks, byte address, bit address, and general purpose, as well as stack pointer. Okay. Next, explain the internal ROM memory organization of 8051. So you need to explain 4 KB ROM memory, how it is organized. The initial location are vector addresses, 0 vector address of reset, 3, B, 13, 1B, 23, right? And beyond 2B hex, the program should be written. So let us go to our next bit in the syllabus, and that is instruction set. So the next few lectures we will study instruction set of 8051, right? So to start with instruction set, we will study addressing modes of 8051. Okay. Since you all have studied 8086, a bit you will be familiar with instructions and addressing modes, right? So in 8051, you have 5 addressing modes: immediate addressing, register addressing, direct addressing mode, indirect addressing mode, and indexed addressing mode. These are the 5 addressing modes of 8051. Okay. Now see, what are these addressing modes? How are they categorized? Right? What information do they give? That is all related to your instructions operate on data. Correct? Data is also called as an operand. Right? So all your instructions need data on which they do operations. So then where is the data? Right? Where is the data? The answer to this is nothing but addressing mode. Okay. Where is the data? The data can be in the instruction itself. Correct? Immediate addressing. The data can be in register, and register is mentioned in the instruction. Register addressing mode. Or the data can be in memory, either in internal memory RAM-ROM or external memory RAM-ROM. Correct? So where is the data and how it is mentioned in the instruction gives you the addressing modes. Oh, is that fine? Hope you are getting me, students. Right? So let us see addressing modes one by one. Immediate addressing mode. Right? Now, whenever you all write instruction, suppose you have written instruction MOV A, 12 hex. Right? MOV is called as a mnemonic. MOV, that word is called as mnemonic. MNEUMONIC. Alright. MOV is called mnemonic. A is called destination operand. And after comma, whatever is written is called source operand. So the instructions are always mnemonic, then the destination, comma, source. And always the transfer is from source to destination. Okay. Hence I'm referring here source operand. Okay. So source operand means the one which comes after comma. So immediate addressing mode, the source operand is in the instruction itself. And how do you recognize that? It is preceded by a hash. This sign is used. Right? So wherever there is hash in the instruction, you should understand this is immediate addressing mode instruction. Okay. So few examples have been given. Look at the first example. MOV A, hash 12 hex. Okay. Hash mean that's data in the instruction itself. Immediate addressing. Okay. And what is it? What is it? This, it's a data transfer instruction. MOV indicate data transfer. What, where to where data transfer? That data is in the instruction itself, 12 hex. That should be transferred or copied in accumulator. Correct? So see 0x12, that is another way of representing an hex number. Either put a bracket and write the letter H, hexadecimal, or write 0x12. That's also hexadecimal. Okay. So that hexadecimal data is in the instruction itself. Pick and copy it in accumulator. Immediate addressing. Correct? Look at the second example. MOV mean again a data transfer. From where to where? The destination is DPTR and the source is in the instruction itself. Now DPTR is a 16-bit register, so the data should also be 16-bit. If you enter 8-bit data, that will get converted into 16-bit and will be copied in the 16-bit register. Right? So always remember, your first example, 8-bit, the register was also 8-bit. In the second example, the register is 16-bit, hence the data given should also be 16-bit. So hash mean the operand is in the instruction itself. Correct? There is a 16-bit number which is to be operated upon. Okay. Now see, forget whether 1000 is an address or data. That is not that important here. There is some number 1000 which is to be copied in DPTR. correct? But what is DPTR doing will be looked up in the other instructions. DPTR is a pointer. But in this instruction, one number, a 116-bit number is to be copied in DPTR. One number, 12 hex, is to be copied in accumulator. Correct? So what is the operation of this instruction? This number, 1000 hex, is copied in DPTR register. Hash indicates immediate operand. The data is in the instruction itself. Okay. Next, ADD A comma. So ADD is add operation. So mnemonic ADD. So ADD A comma hash 12 mean the data is in the instruction itself. Hash immediate. And see, I have only written 12. I didn't write H. So microcontroller assumes this as a decimal number. 12 decimal converts it into hex, makes it C. So if you do not write any base, whether it's a binary or hexadecimal or octal, microcontroller assumes that as a decimal number, converts it into hex, in fact in binary actually, 1100, right? So that C hex is added with the data present in accumulator and stored back in accumulator. So immediate addressing represented by a hash, and whatever a hash the number is, it's the data is in the instruction itself. Correct? Immediate operate addressing. Source operand is in the instruction itself. Right? Now, when do you use immediate addressing? Whenever the number is fixed. The number does not change. So we say whenever you have constants in the program, we prefer immediate addressing mode. See, for example, that DPTR memory address should always begin with 1000. So then I will use immediate addressing. Right? But ADD A, 12 hex, I will never use immediate addressing for arithmetic and logic operations. Why? Because if I want to add some other number, I have to find out this instruction and change that 12 hex. Okay, it is not that every time I'll be adding 12. Okay, so when should you use immediate addressing mode? Only when the data is constant throughout the program. We use immediate addressing or else not. The next, register addressing mode. What is that? The register name containing data is mentioned in the instruction. Okay, I told you all these addressing modes, how are they categorized? Where is the data and how it is accessed by the instruction. Now in this example, the source operand is in one of the register R0, R1 or R7. Correct? The data is in the register and the register is mentioned in the instruction. That becomes register addressing mode. The name of the register, the source operand is a register and that register is mentioned in the instruction. Okay. First example, MOV A, R5. So MOV data transfer, accumulator is the destination, comma, R5 is the source. So where is the source operand? In the register. Which register? R5 is mentioned in the instruction. So see, I have mentioned, see, I have put the brackets. Bracket mean the contents of R5. The data available in R5 is picked up and copied in accumulator. Correct? So this is register addressing mode. Okay. Look at the second example. INC R2 mean increment R2. Mean increment the data which is present in R2. Now see, there is only one operand. Mean R2 is the source operand as well as the destination operand. Okay. So what is the operation? Data from R2, the round brackets mean data from R2 is incremented by 1 and stored back in R2. So where is the source operand? In register. Hence register addressing mode. The last example, ADD A, R6, addition. The destination is accumulator and the source is R6. So the data from R6 is added with the data present in accumulator and the result is stored back in accumulator. So where is the source operand? In register R6. Hence the name register addressing mode. Right? Now see, whatever addressing modes are, these addressing modes are categorized based on the source operand. Where is the source operand? Not the destination. Okay, hope you all get me. The addressing modes are categorized based on where is the source operand. The source operand is register addressing mode. In the previous example, the source operand was in instruction, immediate addressing mode. We do not look at the destination. We look at the source. Okay. The next, direct addressing mode. What is direct addressing mode? Address is mentioned in the instruction. Correct? Address is mentioned in the instruction. Mean actually where is your data? Source operand or the data is in one of the internal RAM memory location. And the address of that memory location is mentioned in the instruction. Correct? So what is mentioned in the instruction? It's an address. And the data from that address is to be accessed. Okay. So the first example, MOV A, 30 hex. Now look here, that hash is missing. Mean whatever the number you have written is an address. MOV A, 30 hex. 30 hex is an address. Okay. If there was a hash, 30 hex will become data. That hash is not there, mean this becomes an address. Okay. So MOV means data transfer. What is mentioned in the instruction? Address is mentioned in the instruction. And what does that instruction do? Data from this address is picked up and copied in accumulator. So what is this? Contents of 30 hex memory location. Right? The contents of this memory location are picked up and copied in accumulator. Look into the next example. INC 30 hex. 0x30 is 30 hex. Mean what is mentioned in the instruction? Address. Right? No hash sign. Mean that's an address. Now what is it doing? Increment 30 hex mean the data or the contents of this memory location, mean the data from this memory location is incremented by 1 and stored back in the same memory location. Right? So what is the source operand? The source operand is in memory and the address is mentioned in the instruction. Okay. Third example, ADD A, 30 hex. It's an addition. Addition from where to where? Data available at this address, 30 hex address. The data from this address is added with the data from accumulator and the result is stored back in accumulator. Okay. So what is mentioned in the instruction? The source operand, the address of the source operand is mentioned in the instruction. So now, when should we use direct addressing? Whenever we want to access consecutively some random locations. Mean in the first case, I am reading data from 30 hex. Immediately next, I will read data from 7F hex. Immediately next, I will read data from 60 hex. So whenever you are reading or writing random memory locations consecutively, and you know the addresses of those memory locations, then only you use direct addressing mode. Correct? Because you need to mention the address in the instruction. Right? Next, indirect addressing mode. What is it? You will be mentioning a pointer register in the instruction. And the pointer register is denoted by @. Okay. So indirect addressing mode is you will be writing one pointer register in the instruction. And then where is your data actually? Where is the source operand? The source operand will be in some internal or like external RAM. Correct? And the address of that memory location will be stored in one register. And that register will be mentioned in the instruction along with the @ sign. Hope you are getting me. Your data is in some memory location. Address of that memory location will be stored in the register and that register will be mentioned in the instruction. We call that register as a pointer register. Okay. So indirect addressing, how to recognize? See, there is an @ sign. The source operand, there should be this sign @. That is recognized as indirect addressing mode instruction. Okay. So see the first example, MOV data transfer from where to where? A comma @R0. It means the data pointed by R0 is picked up and copied in accumulator. Accumulator is destination and afterwards, after the comma, we have source. So where is the source? The pointer register. So data pointed by R0 is picked up and copied in accumulator. So see, I have shown here double brackets indicating a pointer. What is the inner bracket telling? R0 register has an address. So what are the contents of R0? R0 is holding an address. And what is the content of that address? The data byte. Hence the double brackets. Okay. So the data byte pointed by R0 is picked up and copied in accumulator. So where is the source operand? It is denoted by a pointer register R0. Look at the second example. MOVX A, @dptr. The source operand is a pointer. And who is the pointer? DPTR register. Correct? Now MOVX, X stands for external RAM. Only MOV stands for internal RAM data transfer. Okay. So MOVX, external RAM data transfer. So MOVX A, @dptr. How is the data transfer? Data DPTRC double brackets mean the data pointed by DPTR is picked up and copied in accumulator. What is DPTR having? One RAM address. DPTR is having an address. And the data of that address, the outer bracket is telling data of that address is picked up and copied in accumulator. And see the last example, addition. Addition of whom? Data pointed by R0, double brackets, is picked up, added with accumulator and stored back in accumulator. Accumulator is destination operand. @R0 is the source operand. So the source operand is a pointer register, hence indirect addressing mode. And we will see the last one and we will stop after this. The last addressing mode is index addressing mode. Now index addressing mode is to be used only when we are reading from ROM memory. Correct? Index addressing mode is not used for external RAM and internal RAM. Please note this. So index addressing mode is referred only with ROM or program memory data transfer. Right? And what is that index addressing mode? The effective address is calculated by adding one base pointer register and one offset register. right? So the instruction itself will calculate the address where the data is. And how is the address calculated? One base pointer register, the content of base pointer is added with an offset. And this calculation happens in the instruction itself. Correct? So let us directly see the example, right? Now, whenever we are reading from ROM memory, the mnemonic is MOVC. C stands for code memory. Correct? So MOVC indicates data transfer from code memory. And how is the instruction? MOVC A comma at the rate mean that's again indirect, right? And see inside the bracket A plus DPTR. So DPTR is holding address of ROM memory. Accumulator is holding some number. And what is happening? That DPTR address gets added with the number in accumulator and the new address is calculated, which we call it as an effective address. Okay. So address from DPTR gets added with the data in accumulator and the new address is generated and the data pointed by this address is copied in accumulator. Okay, hope you understand. So just look into here what is written. The source operand is in one of the ROM memory location and the address of that memory location is obtained by adding base pointer register DPTR with the offset register accumulator. Okay, and these are the only two examples of index addressing mode. These are the only two variety of examples of index addressing mode. So the base pointer is either DPTR or program counter. And the offset is always available in accumulator. See the next example, MOVC A comma at the rate A plus PC. It means the effective address is calculated by adding the base pointer is program counter. So the address in program counter gets added with the data in accumulator or the offset in accumulator, and thus a new effective address is calculated. And from this address, the data is transferred in accumulator. So that is called index addressing. Something is getting added to the base address and a new effective address is generated. Okay. Now, where is this used? We will see in tomorrow's lecture. So thank you students for attending and see you in the next session.